Well, thanks, Jomil. I appreciate you jumping on. So why don't we start with a quick little intro of who you are and what you do?
Absolutely. It's a pleasure. I'm Jomil Bell. I am the CEO and founder of Hive Over Matter. I offer project management services to entrepreneurs, really women who are tired of saving the world and who are ready for systems that can help them scale and grow without burning out. So that is what I do. When I met Gianna and Upperhand Creative, I kind of knew I needed some help, but I just didn't know where to find it. I had been looking on Fiverr. I've been looking all over. Like I had tried to hire different resources that I had sourced to support me with my social presence and my content creation, which was just a barrier for me. I knew I needed to be on social. I knew I needed to create consistent content. I knew I needed to do email marketing. I knew all of these things because I'd worked in marketing as a consultant and project manager for like 8 years. The problem was I didn't know how to do it. Like you work for Fortune 500 companies, and so you see the systems that need to be in place to work. But then as an individual, like how the heck do I do it? Because I don't have enough of me and I can't hire myself.
For sure.
So that's where I was. But now I can definitely say that having a system that I do have in place that runs consistently, like I work on it daily. It's not something that you set and forget necessarily, right? Like you want to continue to put your thoughts and your creativity and your strategy into it so that it can continue to grow and be what you want it to be. But the fact that I can count on it to run without me having to be on social every single day or following up on comments or doing all of the things that I felt like I was obligated to do that were so draining for me energetically. The fact that I don't have to do that, I can focus on where my strengths are, which is writing and content creation and working with my team member, who I have an team member now, which is really exciting.
Yeah, definitely. And I definitely want to chat more about that in a little bit about Mujeeb and working with him. But first, you mentioned this earlier too, like content was a barrier, right? And I know there were quite a few things that we really had to lay the foundation for and kind of work through. But tell me a little bit more about that. Like when you first started working with us, what was going on in your business when you were, kind of held back by that content?
Yeah, content was a barrier. I think that I was right at the early stages of really defining my voice as a brand and deciding who I was as an individual in the brand. Like, was I the brand? Was I kind of behind the shadows and hiding from conversations with people because I don't want you to know Jomil. I just want you to know this thing that I'm selling. And so I was in this crossroads where I was just deciding that I want to unify myself as my brand and lead with that. So no matter where I go or what I do as a professional and as a service, I am my whole authentic self doing it. So I had just like arrived at that place. But when it came to creating content, I could see, because I had a background in marketing, that it is not a little bit of work. Like it is a consistent work. It is a lot of mental energy and effort, and quite frankly, a lot of technical skills that I just don't have, nor do I have the desire nor the talent to learn. Okay. So it was a combination of both time and talent that I was lacking in that I knew was required. But then at the same time, I was trying to do my mental work, like, don't let that stop you. Maybe make it easy, try to show up. And so I tried so many different things, like posting sporadically, or maybe creating content myself, or trying schedulers that I would manage myself. But at the end of the day, I continued to run into the fact that I either had the skill gap or I had the time gap to acquire that particular skill, and I was not operating in my zone of genius. And so it was like bringing up all of my insecurities and all of that. And at the end of the day, it just wasn't sustainable. And it's ironic because what I do is I teach how to sustain. Like as a project manager, I think about resourcing, our energetic resourcing, our monetary resourcing, our time as a resource, like in how they remain in balance to successfully execute over the long haul. And what I knew when I met you is that I needed to fill a gap that I could not execute over any long period of time without giving up. And I didn't want to stop growing my business, and I didn't want to give up on my dream. So I was like, all right, well, I'm at the point now where failure is not an option. This is what I'm doing. We've decided that we tried to stop, but apparently I've been doing this for too long. And so we're going to keep doing it. And so let me find a system.
Yeah, for sure. And I think it can be so hard when you're so close to everything yourself and trying to pick your head up and look, above all of that. And, the stuff that we're good at doing for other people, it's not always as easy to do it for ourselves. So totally makes sense.
It's never as easy to do it for ourselves because that means we have to take ourselves out of the work that we're doing for other people to do that level of quality for ourselves. And it's balance when you're trying to grow a business while you're still employed, while you're still working, and to have the type of professional support that you otherwise would be able to give if you were full-time in it. So
yeah, definitely. Cool. Well, let's go back to when we started filming your first round of content, right? And again, you just talked through some of those barriers that you went through, but what was different about this process and working through it? And maybe it was having Mujibi on your side versus your content specialist versus the people that you've tried before on Fiverr or Upwork. Maybe it was part of the process and tech support. Like, what were some of the first wins that you had as you started moving into the content creation phase?
Okay, I'm going to be honest. Yeah. And you're not paying me to say this, but you really were a differentiating factor, like in the process and in this experience. I believe in coaching. I've invested in coaching in myself. I am a coach. Like, I never not have one at any given point based on what it is I am looking to grow in. Okay. With that being said, I've also gained a kind of Teflon sense of no matter the quality of coaching, I'm going to depend on me to figure out how to make it work and take what I can, even if it kind of sucked, if that makes sense.
Absolutely. Yeah.
So I say all that to say that you absolutely do not suck. Like, you are so the opposite of that. Like, you are so amazing. And I'm going to tell you, I learned a few different things as both an end user, but then also as a business owner who wants to apply an experience, a learning experience in a digital product, right? So I still haven't figured out how you found me in my LinkedIn, but I knew that because you found me and because the consistent messaging that came into my LinkedIn by video content it resonated so well with where I actually was. I knew you weren't the one, like, I knew you weren't up last night thinking, oh, hey, Jomil, I love you. I want to just know you, right? Like, I knew that, but I knew that there was a level of intention for however long it had to be to get there, to be refined to the point where you found me. You didn't know I was looking for you, and I didn't know I was looking for you, but somehow the algorithm put us together. So that alone told me that you had hacked something in a system that I wanted. So that's first of all. Second of all, your onboarding process, your user experience process, right? Again, used to having coaching calls, used to having fact finding. Like, I love to spend money actually when it's money that I feel like is going to grow. I hate to go to casinos because that's crappy. But when we spoke and I realized that, you invest in a relationship, you want the experience and the expertise of the person that you connected with on that first conversation. And the more you grow and the more you scale, the more difficult that is to be as a business owner. And I can only imagine there'll be one day where you step completely away from the business, and that'll be another problem for another day. But the fact that you were able to incorporate one-on-one type of coaching engagements, which for me is both my favorite learning style and also my favorite to give, like to execute. But the fear had always been, how do you scale that? And so I noticed how you were incorporating automation and technology into your system, and the way you use leverage like your Calendly link and Slack, and the way that you kind of made it their responsibility to come and get you, like, hey, I'm here and I'm available. And while you're not using me, I'm doing this over here, but I'm handling this business, but I am available for you. So to be available when I needed you as a human, was amazing. It was really, 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 really impactful.
That's awesome. Wow. Yeah, that's really cool to hear. It's just good to know, too, that the impact, right? Because I've been through the process myself and trying to figure this out on my own. And so to know that we now have something that we can deliver and make that faster and easier for people is awesome. So thank you.
No, thank you. And I've incorporated that in my Build Without Burnout program. So I'm figuring out how to, I'm taking the things that I like and I'm stealing them and putting them in my stuff.
Yeah. Awesome. So let's talk about Majibi, because you mentioned, all right, you tried Fiverr, you tried Upwork. Like, what was working with Majibi like, and what were some of the quick wins there?
I think that it really helped build the trust because as you mentioned, working with Fiverr or really finding people on Facebook or just, going to whatever source you can to find access to internationally based resources who can work when you're sleeping, who, has a fair rate of exchange where it is valuable for them and also affordable for me and all of the things. It's difficult, honestly, to find a person that you feel like is just another human, just like me, who happens to have a skill set that I don't have and also can communicate with me in my personality in the style that I want. It's just hard. It's hard to find. I don't know how you do your sourcing, but I think that was absolutely a differentiator because around that time I had happened to try some projects and they said that they could do things that they just could not do. And then when I tried to explain and we would have just breakdowns in communication or technology or whatever, it was just, pain points. So I think one of the most impressive things about Majibi at first impression was his navigation of the online tools, right? Because I work asynchronously, I do not go into anybody's office, and I am a virtual girl always, all day. I am also one of those per my previous emails. So if I sent you something and there's a way for you to find it and you put zero effort toward finding it before you came to engage with me, I feel a way about that. But he didn't do that. I could tell he would get into the tool and get in there. And that made me feel comfortable that we'd be able to collaborate on a long term together.
Yeah, very cool. Okay. And now that you're putting out content out into the world, what are some of the things that you're starting to see as a result of that?
Okay. First of all, we're going into our first A/B test cycle, I would say. So we got over the hump of we just need to get YouTube pumping. We need content on there consistently over a week, and I need to be able to give you access to something. And then also his working rhythm. We had to get our rhythm down. So we planned out until about February, maybe. So maybe 3 or so months out into the future, we have content that's ready. So now we can do some behind the scenes stuff. So the YouTube stuff, it really wasn't getting a ton of impressions, but you chalk that up to it's there. At least that's the win. Mm-hmm. And then you gave us the SEO verified topics. I remembered that through my onboarding process, you did a verified topics situation. And I didn't think he was doing that. And I was like, hey, do you know how to do this? He's like, no, I don't know. I was like, okay, well, ask Gianna and let's get this. So we made 2 changes. We made changes for 2 videos, rather. They went from having maybe 100 impressions to over 2,300 impressions a piece, just in terms of reach.
That's amazing.
And I was like, it's the same content.
Uh-huh.
And then you know what I'm saying? And then the other conversation that we had about looking at the drop off, okay, so 80% is dropping off at this time point versus this time point. Let's listen to it and hear what we hear and we pull that up. So we're going into a phase now where we're going back through the old content and we're assessing the strong points and what we can optimize. And we're basically going to recycle all the content while I'm continuing to make the course and to build that. So that was a huge one.
That's huge. First of all, and what you just said is so important, right? I mean, that is the game of YouTube. Is the packaging is 80% of it, right? The title, the thumbnail, and how that's all structured. So super cool that you were able to see those results just from changing a few things. And the second part is the value of what you just said there, where, okay, I've got content for the next couple months and it allows me to really step away and focus on these other things within my business. Wow, Majibi, your content specialist, is able to keep things running over there and test things for you. So I'm super excited for what's on the horizon for you and what's to come. And I know you just got a bunch of new things dialed in as well. So really excited to see how that performs for you. And last couple questions for you in closing. If you had to sum up, before, we're on a infomercial, right? And your biggest before and after claim, what would that look like for you?
Oh man, shucks. Okay. I would say the biggest before and after claim is that before I met Gianna and Upperhand Creative, I knew I had the commitment to growing my business. I had already proven to myself that I had that skill set and the talent and the value to offer the world. And I was not going anywhere except for up, right? The problem was I knew what I needed. I had tested enough to know that I couldn't necessarily do it myself. And I was at the point where I knew I needed help and I knew I needed experts and specialists in the field, but just really hadn't found any that worked for me. So at that point, I didn't like being on social media, quite frankly. Like, I like to do one-on-one coaching. I like to create content, but I did not like the obligation of consistently having to do something every single day and then chasing comments to figure out if it worked or not. Like, I had zero strategy and I had zero time or patience, quite frankly, or technical skill sets to create the creative. And I didn't want to do it. So I would say after meeting Gianna and starting to work with Upperhand, being able to say, I have a system now, and specifically what that means is I have a calendar plan. I have a very organic and natural way of being aware of my creative juices, capturing them in a way that feels good, recording them in a way that feels easy and convenient, and then giving them to someone else and delegating it away so that all of the hard stuff, all the technical stuff, all of the things that I did not want to know how to do, I don't have to know how to do, and I don't feel guilty. I actually feel like I made a player move by taking care of myself in that way and growing my team in that way. And so now this is the first profitable year of my seedling business. I had an organic new student to my brand new course that I was launching through this program for the first time. And I also had my second organic student enroll like yesterday. So I'm just really excited to already see the early wins, to feel confident in what I'm growing in the system, and to have the patience and the endurance to see where it grows.
Yeah, that's super exciting. And again, like I said, just the beginning of it all and just the beginning of the traction that's starting to come. So I can't wait to see what's next. Congratulations on everything so far, and onwards and upwards. And thank you again.
Thank you.